Hello everyone, welcome back to Major Hi-Fi. I'm Luke. Today we're going to be talking about yet another Campfire IEM. This is the Satsuma. So as I said in my video about the Honeydew, Campfire has been expanding their line of more moderately priced IEMs. They have a number of IEMs that are in the sort of 800, 900, 1,000 category, but this runs for $199. So definitely not the cheapest ever, but more accessible than super high priced IEMs. And yeah, so the Honeydew was very impressive, and we're going to talk about a comparison between the two a bit at the end of the video, but for now I just want to talk about the Satsuma, and let's unbox it and talk about what this sounds like. So when we open the box, it's pretty standard for Campfire. We got a carrying case, the IEMs, and some ear tips and whatnot. So not really much extra accessories, but there's not much else you need, and they have these nice drawstring bags for the ear tips and to protect the IEMs. These have a kind of similar bright summery look to the Honeydew. They have this nice tangerine color. It's very bright, it's very happy and joyous. I enjoy it, I think it's cool. Like I said in the last video, I'm sure these sort of louder, brighter colors are not for everyone, but I think they're fun and they make a statement even though IEMs are generally very small. And yeah, all of Campfire stuff is very colorful, so I like that personally. And they once again have this nice glossy coating, which I think complements the orange color really well, and a very sturdy built shell, and a nice lightweight feel. These have the same fit as most Campfire IEMs, so this kind of geometric shape that's meant to, lock into your ears without touching them too much or rubbing up against them uncomfortably. And they also have a pretty impressive level of noise isolation, I found, and they get a really good seal on the ear. So in terms of its soundstage, the Satsuma does a good job of using its width sparingly. So it's going to leave the center elements in the center. It doesn't pull them out further. It doesn't pull the elements that are slightly panned even further out, but it lets the things that are on the sides and are wider naturally have a lot of room to breathe. And because it's not going for intense wideness with every single element, when we do get that widened sound, it feels even more pronounced by contrast to the rest of the elements, so it's a very balanced, natural soundstage. So background vocals, any panned elements, reverb will all have a lot of room to play around. And yeah, these have a pretty standard soundstage for an IEM, and they give you that nice ear candy on the sides. And they definitely meet the Campfire standard in terms of their imaging and abilities to create a sense of depth and space. I didn't feel like the soundstage on this was anything to write home about, but it felt very ample and like it worked well and it felt satisfying. Hey guys, Luke here. Just wanted to pop in and say that if you're enjoying this video, it would be great if you could subscribe and hit the bell to get notified when we make new content, and hit the like button and leave us a comment if you have any suggestions or questions or anything like that. I would love to talk to you guys more. We would really love some help growing the channel, and just want to make sure that we're reaching our audience and whatnot. So yeah, any support is greatly appreciated, and let's get back to the review. Alright, so for their low end, these definitely specify more in the 60 Hertz plus range than they do below that in the sort of more sub range. While they definitely do have some sub presence, it's the upper parts of the low end that get the brunt of their force. So we get that punchy, tight sound with a nice light rumble underneath. So we get a good attack and punch on drums and percussive elements, and some nice taming of, maybe overly heavy bass lines or any other low end, elements or instruments. Overall, the low end on these felt much more percussive and impactful than it did booming or rumbling or vibrating or anything like that, which makes sense because they do have a bit more of an understated sub response and a bit more emphasis on the attack. So for their mid-range, these definitely have a bit more high mid than they do low mid. Their very warm, balanced low mids are definitely contrasted by their very accentuated, slightly saturated high mid range, which definitely gets a little bit resonant in the 2 to 4K hertz range. It's a very, very detailed present mid. It's gonna give vocals a lot more forwardness. If you are really mid sensitive, you're gonna wanna be mindful of this boost, but if you're not, then it's definitely nothing to worry about. And I think listeners who enjoy a snappier high mid or just mid range in general will really appreciate the presence and detail retrieval that these offer. So overall, a very intricate, clean mid range. If you are sensitive, be mindful of that, but I found it very successful. So for the high end on these, it's definitely got a lot of presence, but it is far from being anything intense. So the sort of 8 to 16K range where we get a lot of that shine is not super showcase. And overall, the high end takes somewhat of a backseat to the mid range, which is probably the star of the show on these IEMs. So if you want that glossy sound, these definitely focus their detail more in the mid range than they do on that kind of high end sheen. So I found the high end to be slightly understated, and I really enjoyed the sort of warmth and smoothness this brought to the character, but some people might find it slightly dark. But overall, it feels like a logical part of the tuning given the more present mid-range. If the high was also as present, it might feel a bit too resonant and bright overall. So I found the high end to be slightly understated, and I really enjoyed the sort of warmth and smoothness this brought to the character, but some people might find it slightly dark. But overall, it feels like a logical part of the tuning given the more present mid-range. If the high was also as present, it might feel a bit too resonant and bright overall. So how does this compare to the Honeydew, which is another of Campfire's new IEMs, and they run for about $50 more than these? They are basically complete opposites. So the tuning of them could not be more different. So while these have more controlled, contained low end, an accentuated high mid and mid range, and that kind of bright, not overly bright, but somewhat understated high end, the Honeydew have extremely strong low end, huge sub bass, very subdued mid range, especially the high mid, and a pretty dark high end. So they really couldn't be more different. They're just both for very different types of listeners, though there's probably people out there who have kind of a versatile enough taste that they would enjoy both. But yeah, so very different sounds, very different IEMs. They're almost hard to compare. So I would definitely say that these lend themselves to a pretty different listener and application than the Honeydew. I would suggest these to people who want that added presence and snap. If you're a performer, if you play keys or guitar or vocals, these would be really great for that as they accentuate those elements a lot. And while these do have a very individualistic sonic character to them, it doesn't feel like polarizing. It's just, gonna be not everyone's cup of tea, but it's a well-made cup of tea for those that enjoy it. Campfire does say that these are aimed at guitars, keys, and vocalists, and that they use one balanced armature driver to enhance the mid-range, so that all tracks very well with the entire review. Pretty accurate description from Campfire. I like the transparency. And yeah, so these are really great. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Campfire's Satsuma. I will, per usual, link to Major Hi-Fi's IEM ranking tool if you want to compare these to other IEMs from Campfire or any brands. And I will also link to my written article if you'd like to read that. And if you have any questions about these that I didn't answer in the video, please feel free to leave them in the comments or post on the Major Hi-Fi forum. I'd be happy to answer and talk to you guys. And yeah, I'll be back soon with some more videos and reviews. And until next time, happy listening.